The Bulls look like they're going nowhere. But the NBA shocks us all the time. Years ago, who saw Dwight Howard picking the Rockets? Or then them trading for Chris Paul, then swapping him for Russell Westbrook. What about the Timberwolves actually pulling off the Wiggins for D'Lo deal? And you know who pulled off those crazy ass moves? Daryl Morey. In Minnesota, his ex-assistant, Gerson Rosas. Well, guess what? The Bulls just hired another Morey guy, Arturas Karnisovas. Anything can happen. Well, anything can't happen, but a lot of really exciting things can happen this offseason. It is Offseason Wednesday, people, and we're going over the best, worst, and realistic scenarios for Chi-Town. Hey, it's Casey. It is AM Hoops. Hit subscribe and notification bells. Coming out with 5 videos per week, Monday through Friday at 5 Eastern. So it's Wednesday, meaning we're talking about the off season, and we're starting with teams that are not going into the NBA playoff bubble. We'll have plenty of them once the playoffs start again. So last week we talked about Golden State. This week we're gonna do the Bulls. Let me know in the comments what team you want to talk about next. Before we start with the best case scenario this offseason, let's look at the basics. Draft odds, about a 7% chance to get number 1. Most likely they'll pick at number 7. Cap space, 0. Tools to improve in free agency, the $9 million mid-level exception, the $3.8 million biannual exception, and of course the veterans minimum. Needs, everything, at an elite level at least, but especially shooting, playmaking, and coaching. Dream free agents are guys like Anthony Davis, Brandon Ingram, Montrezl Harrell. Realistic free agents, DJ Augustine, Jay Crowder, Tim Hardaway Jr., Kent Bazemore, maybe a Joe Harris or a Fred VanVleet, although VanVleet's a little too expensive. Trade targets perhaps if they want to go big. Spencer Dinwiddie, Bradley Beal, anyone basically who isn't untouchable. The best case scenario this offseason for the Bulls is they sign Anthony Davis in free agency and win the draft lottery picking number 1 overall. I know AD is a pipe dream, but remember this.
I mean, obviously, there's nothing like playing at home. I don't know. I am a free agent next year, but
Next question.
We'll see.
Young man,
Responsibility.
Oh, negative people are gonna say, oh, he was just playing to the crowd. They don't even have cap space. And to those people I say, you're pretty much exactly right, and I'm sorry for calling you negative. But there are a couple of ways that they could make this happen with AD. Number 1 is to just blow up the team and trade high-priced players for cap space, like get rid of Zach Lavine or Otto Porter Jr. The other way is if Otto Porter Jr. declines his option somehow, they renounce all their free agency cap holds, and they pick 7th where they are slated. Oh yeah, then there's the whole AD actually wanting to go there thing. Maybe the Lakers lose in the first round? Yeah, so it's not gonna happen, but that doesn't mean that this isn't still the best case scenario for the Bulls. Having AD on the team would take a huge load off of Zach Lavine as the primary scorer. And actually, this is a good time to talk about Zach Lavine. No one on this roster is untouchable. Yes, even their best player last year. I like Zach Lavine, but he is not good enough if this team wants to compete in the Eastern Conference. I mean, he'd be good as maybe a number 2, but last year he was in the wrong role. He is not a primary playmaker. Dude makes bad decisions and reads the floor wrong, setting up his teammates. Yes, he can make shots, but he doesn't create for others. One stat I like is on-off numbers. Zach's team have been better with him on the court once in 6 seasons. We love highlights of score-first athletic guards, but as a number 1 option, they don't actually win basketball games. On top of all that, his defense is awful. But actually getting AD would make Zach Lavine that all-star that he just missed out on last year because he would be in the right role. And with the number 1 overall pick, they would draft LaMelo Ball. LaMelo would become that facilitator to run next to Lavine and Coby White. The best case scenario starting lineup, a 3-guard lineup. LaMelo Ball, Coby White, Zach Lavine, Anthony Davis, and Wendell Carter Jr. And yes, that means Lauri Markkanen would come off the bench, but you would have to play AD at center otherwise. So let's move into something more realistic and hit our worst case scenario. First off, the draft pick. They're currently slated to pick 7th. Yeah, just like last year. And the year before that. And the year before that. Great. Worst case scenario, though, would be picking late in the lottery. Then Otto Porter Jr. picks up his option for $28.4 million. Then they negotiate big money long-term deals with Lauri Markkanen and Chris Dunn. And finally, they can't get any of their dream targets to sign. Now, this is just as unlikely to happen as the dream scenario is, and we'll get to the realistic scenario in a second, but this is why the worst case scenario would suck. First of all, let's tackle Lauri Markkanen. Now, I bring him up because he is extension eligible, so the new front office guy, Arturas Karnisovas, is gonna have a decision to make. If he pays Lauri anything more than 12 to 15 million a year, it's a bad deal. And Lauri's gonna want more than that because in his first 2 years, he looked like maybe he could be a max type player. Last year though, he regressed big time. That means I don't think they are gonna come to an agreement this season, but if the Bulls do like him, guess what? They've got the option to match any other team's option and keep Lauri Markkanen next offseason if they want. Now, dude went from a promising power forward to a bad spot-up shooter too many times who can only hit 34% from deep. You could blame it on injuries. You could blame it on Coach Jim Boylen. Now, I think it's lazy just to say, oh, changing the coach is gonna fix most of their issues here. Markkanen may just not be as good as he looked in years 1 and 2, but they do need to move on from Jim Boylen. Giving him a new contract is also a worst case scenario. Not only were Lavine and Markkanen played in the wrong role, Wendell Carter Jr. regressed too. Boylen played him at center 100% of the time, but he's really a power forward at 6'9". Those power forward minutes, though, have been taken up by Markkanen and Thaddeus Young. Hiring a coach that can develop young players is exactly what the Bulls need right now, unless they do get some veteran like an Anthony Davis. Options to replace Jim Boylen. How about Chris Fleming? He's already on the staff. He developed Nets players under Kenny Atkinson. Kenny Atkinson himself would be a great hire, and he's out there. One part of this scenario that is most likely going to happen is Otto Porter Jr. picking up that option. Now, he can get almost $29 million for 1 year, and he is super motivated to do that because he had injury concerns all year, and the cap is supposed to go down. It is guaranteed he'll pick this thing up, but that actually might be a good thing for the Bulls. That big money immediately could become a massive trade chip if someone's looking for an expiring contract to swap for a star. Bradley Beal, for example, makes perfect sense if the Bulls want him. They could trade OPJ's expiring contract next year, and they own all their first-round picks. So, an Otto Porter Jr. plus 4 firsts for Bradley Beal could work if the Bulls want to. The nightmare part of this would be having Otto Porter Jr. injured, and the team doesn't want to take him. The realistic scenario for the Bulls here is they basically just keep what they have now and they pick 7th in the draft, probably taking someone like Obi Toppin. I think this next year after the offseason should just be evaluating what they have for this new front office and then making these big decisions next offseason. We talked about Markkanen and Carter Jr., but they still don't know exactly what they have in Coby White. Take what Coby did after the All-Star break with a grain of salt, please. Yeah, he averaged about 25 points, 4 assists in just 10 games, but he got a lot of shots on a bad team in meaningless games. Plus, he does not solve their playmaking problem, and the Bulls should take yet another point guard if the best guy available is a playmaker when they pick. With Coby White, the new front office has to figure out, do I need to get another veteran point guard in here better than Tomas Satoransky, or use a draft pick to solve our issues? The realistic option here isn't that bad because the 2021 free agent class is stacked. The Bulls don't have cap space now, but they will next offseason. Otto Porter Jr., Cristiano Felicio will be off the books, and they can buy out Thaddeus Young and Satoransky if they want to. Even if they don't have a realistic shot at landing any of the big free agents, they can use that space smartly while having yet another year of evaluation for Markkanen, Carter, and Coby White. After this offseason, I actually do have hope that the Bulls are going to be better on the court next season if they can stay healthy. And that's also why Otto Porter Jr. picking up his option won't be a horrible thing if you want to see competitive basketball. He shoots above 40% on uncontested threes and about 40% on contested threes. He plays solid defense. If Chicago's going to be better on the court, Otto Porter Jr. will be the biggest reason why. My prediction for the Bulls next season, they'll go 39-43 and finish 10th in the East. I know it's not that exciting. Now that's not good enough for the playoffs, but it does give Arturas Karnisovas and his new front office plenty of time to evaluate this roster and figure out what he wants to do with all that cap space next summer. What is exciting if you're a Bulls fan right now is some really important decisions will be made by this new front office. And if Jerry Reinsdorf hired the right people, the Bulls will be a contender in the near future, just not after this offseason. Support AM Hoops and click subscribe. Don't miss a daily NBA video.